Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening. So, I thought I'd do this video and talk about training for a bare knuckle fight. You know, what's different between boxing, K1 kickboxing, boxing, and bare knuckle. What the things you've got to do differently when you're in training camp. You know, and what's prompted me to do this video is I follow a guy called Dave Allen. Now, if you don't know who Dave Allen is a professional boxer. He's fighting Johnny Fisher on Tyson Fury, a new 600 card. He's called the White Rhino. He's fought Dillian White. He's fought everyone. He was Usyk's sparring partner. Dave Allen, aka the White Rhino. Go follow his YouTube channel. He's so down to earth. He's such a dry guy. You know, when he's talking, you wouldn't think he's a bit of a celebrity because just the way he acts, the way he talks, the way he carries himself, his demeanour, his personality. He's just so down to earth. You know. And I like listening to him. I like watching his stuff. You know, he's very down to earth and very dry. And I mentioned I've been watching his stuff for the last few weeks, and I put in his comment section, "What do you think of the bare knuckle boxing and stuff like that?" And he made a video about it. He made a video about bare knuckle boxing, and I watched his bare knuckle boxing video. I watched his video, and he was curious about the training for a bare knuckle fight. You know, it's prompted me to do this video. Now, training for a bare knuckle fight is there's a lot of tweaks. You know, there's a lot of differences. You know, if you're training for a boxing fight, there's a lot of things that you'll do different, like parrying, for example. You can't parry when you're bare knuckle boxing. If you're thinking about parrying, it does become a habit, because when you've done a lot of rounds and you've done a lot of fighting, a lot of sparring, you do instantly want to parry. You want to parry. Where you can't do that in bare knuckle boxing, because if you do start to parry, you're going to hurt your hands. If you parry a bare knuckle, you're going to hurt your hands. You know, or one of them's going to eventually get through, because you've got to remember, like, it's different when you've got a big glove on and you're parrying shots. Like, if someone throws a jab, you just go pop. But if you start popping and trying to defend the jab with that hand, it's even if your knuckles, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt. Even one way or another, it's going to hurt. You know, I had to totally change my style up for a bare knuckle fight. You know, I had to move a lot more. I had to make sure I wasn't getting hit as much as I used to when I used to box or do K1 kickboxing. Because when you're getting hit with gloves on, don't get me wrong, you still don't want to get hit with gloves on, but you don't want to get hit with bare knuckle even more. Because even a slightest little skim or shot will split you open, will cut you, will hurt you. A little light jab will split you open. You've got to make sure that you're not getting hit as much as you did when you were wearing gloves. Your guard has got to be different. You can't just there, because punches are always going to come through your guard. You've got to have a tight guard. You know, so when I was doing that, I used to block like that. You know, what we did is we did a lot of rounds with. I did a bit of sparring, a bit of touch sparring with MMA gloves. So when the punches were coming, you've got to close the guard better. You know, I remember doing my fight. I was blocking with closing my forearms, so I could block like that, so they weren't coming through, and still they were hurting my arms. You know, any punches that were flung that were hitting my hands or my arms, they did hurt. You know, so what me and my coach did, we worked on always moving side to side, always moving, always looking to not get hit. You know, that's the massive difference with bare knuckle boxing. You can't just get hit. You know, I was the type of fighter that would take one to land, would take a shot to land my one. You know, when I got into the bare knuckle boxing, I knew I couldn't have that attitude. I had to make sure that I was moving and that I wasn't getting hit. And if I was going to land my shot, it had to count. You know, again, throwing punches. You know, your distance is off. When you're training with gloves on, you've got an inch. Sometimes maybe it's a bit more, depending on what size gloves you're using. So the distance is a little bit off. And if the distance is off by that much, you're missing. You're still going to miss. Or you're not going to land your punch properly because you've got the distance wrong. So you had to really measure the distance with your feet. Make sure you were closer or further away in order to not get it, closer in order to land your shot. The rules are slightly different as well. You know, clinch work. Clinch. You can grab, pop, grab the back of the head, grab, boom, boom. You know, that was a massive thing for me that I knew that that's where I would shine because of my K1 and my Muay Thai background. I knew once I got close, I would grab, I would clinch, and I would do a lot of work in there. That's potentially how I finished my fight. I got in close and I was in close, clinching, pum pum. I think boxing and bare knuckle is two very different sports, but also quite similar. It's Queensberry rules, but with a few tweaks. Queensberry rules. It's good old fashioned bare knuckle boxing. The only difference is the good old fashioned bare knuckle boxing. You weren't allowed to clinch. As soon as two fighters come together, you've seen it on traveller camps and these traveller fights. These proper gypsy men who are proper doing bare knuckle fighting. As soon as they got in close, break, don't be punching. All these old school fighters were always breaking up, where in this pro bare knuckle game, they actually let you work in there. They'll let you work in there. So working on the clinch, working on that distance and moving a lot more. The difference is with the boxing training is, you're going to be wearing gloves. Now, taking them gloves off and punching bare knuckle, you've got to make sure that your hands are prepared, to be hitting bone, forehead, head, elbows, shoulders. You got to condition your hands, and it's not dipping them in petrol or doing anything like that. It's basically just tapping 4x4 pieces of wood, tapping them, knocking them, but just on hard surfaces, just getting them used to hitting on hard surfaces. Before you know it, you're hitting them harder, And I used to do that while I was watching telly, watching films. I would have a piece of wood, like a rolling pin or something like that, just whacking my hands, tapping my knuckles, pop, 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 just toughening the skin, toughening the bones. Basically that's about it. Dave Allen, go subscribe to his YouTube channel. The guy's quite funny, the guy's a realist, he speaks his mind, he's very open, and I love listening to him talk about boxing. So yeah, God bless, guys.